I've got 6 o'clock now. Would you like me to go live on YouTube? You're good.
I call to order the Westlake City Schools regular board meeting for Monday, October 24th, 2022. Roll call.
Kraft,
Here.
Not
Here.
Fanukin,
Here.
Lazinski,
Here.
Stoll.
Here. If you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We gather today to further the mission of the Westlake City Schools. We educate for excellence, empowering all students to achieve their educational goals, to direct their lives, and to contribute to society. As well as our vision, the Westlake City School District will provide a dynamic, student-centered, 21st century learning environment. Our district will be characterized by high achievement, actively engaged learners, mutual respect, shared knowledge, pursuit of new skills and capabilities, collaborative learning, a willingness to take action, a team commitment to data-driven continuous improvement and tangible results. We acknowledge our visitors with us today. Thanks for joining us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Lazinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Not
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we have a hearing of the public. The public may address the board during the periods of the meeting designated for public participation. Each person addressing the board shall give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time is allotted and is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Is there anyone wishing to address the board at this time with an agenda item? Seeing none, we're going to move on. We have all had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last board meeting, our board meeting of September the 26th, 2022. All those in favor of approving those minutes say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Minutes are approved. We're going to move on to informative reports and recognitions. Dr. Goggin, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to everyone. It's actually hard to believe, but our first quarter ends Friday. It's been a wonderful start to the school year, and I'm sure we'll be hearing holiday music on the radio shortly. I would not be surprised if that happened very soon. So last week, we had our reception for our students who received National Merit Recognition. And this Wednesday, we have our induction ceremony for National Honor Society. We have multiple teams in the playoffs or state competition still in athletics. Our volleyball team plays Olmsted Falls tomorrow at Valley Forge High School. On Wednesday, our boys soccer team is at home against Brunswick. Our football team travels to Avon on Friday. And our boys and girls cross country teams compete in the regional tournament on Saturday. This past weekend, our very own Pride of Westlake traveled to Columbus to participate in the Skull Session with the Ohio State University Band. For those who are not aware, Ohio State University Band has a pregame ritual prior to each home game. Our band was able to not only perform during that, but also 25 of our band members were able to attend the game and sit behind the OSU band during the game, which I heard was a lot of fun. Last week, we attended the Recreation Commission meeting. Westlake's Recreation Department met with stakeholders, and it was their opinion that a second 90-foot baseball field was not necessary for the city. The commission did want more time to discuss this and did not move on whether or not to recommend partnering with us in there. So we'll wait for more word on that. In the meantime, we can focus on the renovation of our current fields. The proposal we had is only good if it meets the needs of both the city and school district. And if the city does not choose to partner, we can definitely adjust. Or if they do choose to partner, then we can adjust. If not, we can just renovate our current fields. And if they find there's a need for another field later, we would still have that upper plateau space open. We are still excited about these projects. We're going to engage with companies we are already familiar with, and we're also going to connect with some others at the Capitol Conference in November. In regard to board policy, I did send Liz and Barb 18 updates for both of them to review. We can bring them to the Board of Education for a first read in November. And if either of you want to go through them like in a Zoom call or anything like that, I tried to break down the policies a little differently to have them hopefully be a little more readable to go through. Reading board policy can be very boring at times. Another thing we did, multiple site evacuations have occurred. Both the elementary school and LBMS performed these drills. These are more than your basic fire drill. This is an actual evacuation to another location. And I do want to give a big thank you not only to our administration, our staff, and our students for going through with that, but Westlake Police Department. They not only assured our safe travel, but also filmed the evacuation via drone. And that's something that eventually we'll be able to sit down and review to see if we want to take a different path or do anything a little bit differently. We did started to build a team, and I think I've commented about Brave Ed before, and what that is, it's a company we're working with to talk about benefits-based accountability. And this is going to be a nice process that will assist us to inventory what we do, set goals, and be able to communicate what we do in a non-technical, user-friendly way. A lot of times in education, we use a lot of acronyms. We assume everybody knows the depth of kind of what we do. And this is something that will not only help us communicate, but it also help with our strategic plan and the implementation, and help us provide a vision of what we're doing and be able to communicate that to our primary stakeholders. We had our first session last week. We had to catch up. We are in a cohort, and we have another session tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that. I just want to touch on some projects. The furniture in the front office of Dover Intermediate School was upgraded. It does look nice. However, some pieces came in the wrong size. So it's assembled and it's working, but it's not perfect at this point. So we do need to work on that and improve that, but it looks really nice. It's a nice setup that they have there now. That should be resolved in the next couple of weeks. The fence is installed on the Dover campus parking lot. I don't know, have any of you gone by to see that? So when the photos, okay. So over on the Dover campus in front of Dover Intermediate School in Lee Bernison, we did install a really nice black, it's not rod, but is it aluminum?
It's steel.
Steel fence. Looks really nice, but the purpose is it's fenced off on those islands and the sidewalk there, so that if you're coming from the parking lot, you have to use the crosswalk. We had situations in the past where people would go from the parking lot and walk across the island and could be walking in between buses and different things. So, and Dave and I, Dave actually took the time to show me a video of students arriving, and it's really doing its job.
Yeah,
you know, it's
well received.
And
yeah,
I guess I haven't heard anything. Have you?
Haven't heard a word.
Okay.
Well received.
So there you go. Let's see. So that's the fence. Oh, finally, Holly Lane is in the process of being taken down. We would expect that to be down in the next couple of weeks, Dave, to be completely down. I went over there today, and the area they're doing the part on the left, they're digging over there. So when you're in the front, not cul-de-sac, but the front turnaround there, you can see right through that front window and see that there's nothing there. But around the back, it really isn't as noticeable because they haven't gotten to the right-hand side yet. But it's coming down quick and they're doing a really nice job with it. And if you notice right here, I brought for each of the board members a brick from Holly Lane. If you are interested, our PTA will be selling those bricks as a fundraiser. And special thanks to Dave for cleaning these. They look wonderful. He took the time to get the mortar off them. And that would be my report for this evening, but I could take any questions if you have.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I think about the thoughtful presentation at convocation from leadership of Westlake Police Department with regard to the amount of time spent on training often. And I think about the evacuation. Is there any suggestion from either you or Westlake Police Department to do that more often, or, you know, based on the review of the evacuation looks good and we'll just do that?
Yeah, we were actually really impressed with how well it went. You know, we had the PKK, the elementary situation. PKK went one location because the kids can't walk as far,
Sure.
and then the rest of the school went to another location, but it was very smooth. The kids were wonderful.
Good.
I mean, it was really nice. We'll wait and see if they have any suggestions as we go through it, but don't think there was a lot of feedback after.
Went well. Super. Thanks. Any other questions for Dr. Dodd? Thank you. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Tonight, I just have a few topics I'd like to bring up and go over briefly. And then I can move into my recommendations. But first thing, next month, we will be going over the 5-year forecast. Traditionally, schools have been required twice a year to submit a 5-year forecast to the state of Ohio. It used to be in October and in May, and now they've moved it to November and May. So as I finalize the forecast, I'll get it out to the Finance Committee first to review. We can meet if the committee so chooses, but do want to get your eyes on it first, and then hopefully have a presentation, or I will have a presentation for the board to hopefully consider at the November, I believe it's November 28th board meeting after Thanksgiving there. I don't see anything, out of the ordinary on it. In fact, some of the pieces that I'll go into my next bullet point is as we consider some of the income sources for the past, I don't know, it's felt like, decades, but at least for the past few years, we've been arguing over 1 or 2 basis points of interest, which is a very, very, very small amount. Where we were looking at our checking account getting 15, 20 basis points, which is 0.15% of interest. The district's very limited on how we can invest our funds because it is public funds. We want to make sure we're investing them safely, but we can invest them in, certificates of deposit, in municipal bonds, in treasury bills, in treasury securities, as well as commercial paper, and a few other small investment opportunities. In the past, that hasn't been overly appealing because the rates have been so low, but and I want to be cognizant to the fact that inflation is affecting our community and our taxpayers in a negative way. The positive is it has driven up interest rates. And so interest rates where we were arguing a couple of years ago for 10 basis points, now we're seeing interest rates of 3, 4, 5%. So going from 0.15% to 5% is a huge difference. So that will affect our 5-year forecast. That will affect how we maybe choose to utilize some of those returns on investments. For years, we've been able to have some decent money in the bank. We've been very fortunate here to have ending cash balances, very significant ending cash balances. But now we're able to make a little bit of a return on that. And the Finance Committee and the board will, want to consider how we want to use that. Do we want to use that just back to general fund, or is there something we can have greater impact with those funds and maybe dedicate those funds for a specific purpose? And that'll be something that we'll talk about over the next weeks and months as we move forward.
Super. Thank you.
As the board obviously fully knows, but the community as well, Dr. Goggin has mentioned, we do have a capital conference coming up in a couple of weeks. So November 13th, 14th, and 15th. Many of the board will be down in Columbus at an annual professional development meeting of colleagues of Board of Education's and administrators throughout the state of Ohio. So I look forward to that and seeing you there. And then we are underway with our annual audit. As the board knows, but to remind the community, we are required by state law to have an audit done annually on our finances. So we go through this process every year. I believe in it very much so. It's done by the state auditor's office. We want to be as transparent and upfront with our community about our finances as possible. And the annual audit is certainly one of the best ways to go through and show that we are trying to maintain the trust of the community as much as possible. So we've been fortunate in the past with our audits. At this point, I see no reason to have any concerns about the audit coming back in negative in any way, but it's a process that will continue through, if not the last week of December, possibly in the first couple of weeks of January, but we are working through that right now. I'm happy to move into my recommendations unless there's questions that the board has for
I
me.
was going to ask Mr. Fanouken. Mr. Fanouken, is there an interest in getting together prior to Mr. Hopkins and his presentation of the 5-year forecast?
Yeah, I would think there should be enough time before the 28th.
Super. We'll put together some dates and we can meet.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is that the Monday after Thanksgiving?
The 28th is the Monday after Thanksgiving, so we could either meet the Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving, or even late when we get back from Capitol Conference.
Sure.
That would be something like the 17th, maybe Thursday, the 17th.
You'll think it'll be pretty close to being done by then?
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely.
What was that question?
I was wondering if you'd be pretty close to being done by then.
With the
Oh,
forecast,
By the
yes.
17th.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
What is the week of like the Monday or Tuesday of Thanksgiving? Is that as a hypothetical?
but works for me.
Just if you would include that, I should be good as well. If
Yep.
you want to include that in the possibilities.
I will send something out to you
Thanks.
here tomorrow.
Anything else for Mr. Hopkins? Can we move on to treasurer's recommendations?
Tonight I'll be pretty quick. I just have 4 items on here. The first one is then and nows. If you have questions, please let me know. The second is allowing the district to go through a bid process with the Ohio Schools Council. This does not obligate us to purchase, okay? This solely is requesting that Ohio Schools Council bid on our behalf for 2 new full-size 72-passenger buses and 2 18-passenger small buses that we use in the transportation department. This request comes from our transportation director, Adam House, approved through Mr. Kosovar. It is something that we do want to keep on the radar of the board because we would like to get these ordered. Right now, we're seeing a 6 to 9 month lead time on the time you order a bus to the point you get it. So even as we look at it and say, well, we don't need them right now, but we'll need them for next school year. Well, we're going to need to get that process started here fairly quickly. So
Have we gotten our buses from last?
we
year?
have not.
Okay.
We had ordered 4 buses and we're still waiting on those 4 buses. And we had ordered those in January. I believe it was January. Again, this does not obligate us to purchase. It's just the bidding purposes. C, I have a resolution to approve the updated exempt employee handbook. The exempt employees are the employees who work in this building, who support the administrators in the building. At the last board meeting, the board did approve updates to the administrative handbook. This is doing updates to the exempt handbook, bringing the exempt handbook in equity or similarity with all of the other contracts in the district, administrative, classified, and certified, as well as updating some terminology and some like insurance offerings that reflect actual practices that are happening right now. And then the fourth one I have, letter D, is amending the school fees. It was brought to our attention that some foreign language fees workbooks were missed. This is asking to amend the original fee list to have these foreign language workbooks.
Super.
If it so pleases the board, I'm happy to combine all 4 together.
Is there a motion to approve treasurer's recommendations for A through 4D?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
The flags look great.
I like them.
It really
And I,
do.
and I love the fact that they're in front of all the schools.
It was PTA, Diane Jordanger was a main driver for that.
Well,
And
I appreciate the
tell her
city's help.
that, yes.
yeah, and Paul Quinn and City Service Department.
Further discussion. Roll call.
Stoll,
Yes.
Here not,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes,
Kraft,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes.
motion carries.
Dr. Goggin, superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you very much. We'll start by paying special attention to 5A, which is a resolution to accept gifts and donations. I will pull out first the ones that we have a number of them that are donating funds to the Leonard Siwick Memorial Educational Scholarship Fund at the high school. So I will do the ones that are not that first. First is Dean's Greenhouse. Larry and Scott Dean donated 12 potted mums, a $71.88 value to Westlake Elementary School. Carol Hanna donated a prom gown to the junior class at Westlake High School. And Christina Kennedy, if I find her here really quick. And marked it. I thought there was soccer.
This is two below Carol Hannon.
Okay, let me
The
get to
soccer
Carol Hanna.
balls.
There we go. Christina Kennedy donated 21 soccer balls and 3 ball pumps to Westlake High School. Now, the rest of these folks donated funds to the Leonard Siwick Memorial Educational Scholarship Fund. That was Deborah Abernathy, and these are all separate donations. So I'm just reading through. Dr. Karen Braun, Daniel and Elaine Brewer, Charlotte Brindenbaugh, Susan Clark, James and Claudia Clausen, James and Carol Cooperrider, Patricia Cunningham, John and Deborah DiArmond, John Del Monte, Anthony and Connie DiBiasio, Frank and Lisa Falcioni, Leslie Harold, Nancy Kerwin, Jeffrey and Catherine Katurba, Kenneth Krebop, Dennis and Karen Kukler, Jeffrey Coons, Larry and Beverly Coons, Robert and Judy Lawless, Daniel and Colleen Leach, Thomas and Karen McKnight, Diane and Constance Metzinger, Kathleen Salis, Alan Staza, Robert and Nancy Stanley, Sue Surd, and Clayton and Rosser Twig. So all those donations. So we greatly appreciate that. The rest of my recommendations, B is improvement employment of classified staff members. C is requesting approval for a stipend for classified staff members participating in we call it CPI, but Crisis Prevention Institute. Letter D is a resolution to approve after-school tutors. This is part of our tutoring that we're trying to put in place with our ESSER programming to help our students close gaps. Resolution to approve a home instructor is letter E. Letter F, athletic supplemental contracts, which will be a mixture of winter sports. And I do see that, I thought I saw that there was a football one in there. Letter G, a resolution to approve athletic event workers. Letter H, resolution to approve additional hours of Tier 1 personnel in enrichment and engagement summer link program. Letter I is resolution to approve an overnight field trip for our cheerleaders. Letter J is an amendment. We had a teacher who we needed to amend their educational level based on receiving their transcripts. And then the last one is continuing the approval for a long-term substitute in the counselor position. So I would request if it's okay to do 5A separately, but to combine 5B through 5K.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 5A?
So moved.
second,
discussion to include, thank you to our generous community for continuing to really contribute so much to Westlake City Schools. And again, continued tribute to Mr. Leonard Sewick.
Could, Mr. Kraft, could you give maybe a little background on that scholarship if you're aware of it for the people?
Todd's more aware of it. Are you aware? of
I
it?
am not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Swick was a counselor, I believe, with the district, the high school, and staff member here for a long time, recently passed away. And as in lieu of flowers, they asked to send money to establish a one-time scholarship. They're not in conversations that I'm aware of. It's not looking to be a endowment, but we did have a nice turnout of a number of people who've made donations in his honor that our counseling department will work through an awarding scholarship later this year.
Great, thank you.
And it'll take place in May when the kids get their scholarship. So one lucky student will get it. I don't know what the criteria.
Yeah, they'll have to
They
look
said
at if it's gonna be one or multiple students, depending on how much money has been gathered. But that's a decision that they'll make through the counseling office.
Very
Any
nice.
criteria established for the,
In my initial, I did not have a conversation, my secretary did with
sure.
one of the family members. I don't believe there is one, but we'll look into it further to make sure as we do follow through
As
with
they're
their wishes.
published, as these are published for kids to apply to, it'll list out.
Thank you, Mr.
Super. Further comments? Roll call?
Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Pure not,
Yes,
Stoll,
Yes.
motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendations 5B through 5K?
So moved.
second,
Discussion? Roll call?
Stoll,
Yes.
Pure not,
yes,
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes.
motion carries.
At this time, we have a second hearing of the public. Public may address the board during the periods of the meeting designated for public participation. Each person addressing the board shall give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time allotted is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time with any comments whatsoever? Seeing none, I will move on. Board comments. Any board member wish to share any information or thoughts?
I've got a couple quick ones.
Sure.
I appreciate Dr. Goggins sending us the finalized strategic plan back in April, I believe it was. Could we get some reports with updates as of where things are? I'm not saying the entire plan, but like take a section.
Sure.
And then also, I love that we're live streaming this now. Miss visiting the buildings, but if they could come to us to report out this, where we can continue to live stream. Just sort of an update of what's going on and also honoring the students again. If we could get that back.
Did I see an article that our girls cross country team just won district?
Was it?
Well,
Was it-
districts moving on to regionals and Dr. Goggin touched on
Okay.
that in
Yeah,
his
the-
initial address. Absolutely. Right on.
Doing a good job.
I wanted to, and thank you for your report, talking about the fields and the involvement of the city of Westlake. I wanted to say thank you to the city of Westlake and city council, President Greenspan, Councilman O'Donnell, Councilwoman Hilvalka, Councilman Getzey, Councilman Sullivan, Councilman Minari, and Councilman Van Dyke. Also, thank you to Mayor Clough and the Department of Recreation. Thank you for spending the time, energy, which always equates into money, the sharing of ideas with regard to a baseball and a softball park. No matter the direction, it's a reminder that we share a very good relationship and a partnership that will continue. Dr. Goggin, you touched on it. The community has really been quite vocal to all board members regarding its success and the excitement of the new school year. It's hard to believe, as you mentioned, that our first quarter Q1 is quickly coming to an end. We salute all Westlake City Schools employees and volunteers, as well as students, and we congratulate you on the successful beginning to the 22-23 school year. And of course, wish you continued success. Halloween is almost upon us. We'll say have fun, but stay safe. I had the opportunity last week to vote and encouraging all to do just that. And also thank you to the Rocky River City School District Board of Education for hosting a joint session on October the 11th, where we had the opportunity to hear from the OSBA Director and Legislative Services entity and Representative Jennifer Hogue. Ms. Hogue shared a legislative update, changes to the state report card, information on school safety and community collaboration strategies, and information on school finance and property values.
I would like to wish all the teachers and staff members luck on November 1st when the students come back after a 3-day holiday, 3-day weekend. Right after Halloween also.
It's always nice when that teacher workday falls on the day after Halloween.
Exactly.
I think the kids like that too.
There's a number of parents who message me, are we really off on Halloween or the
Yeah.
day after? So it'll be interesting.
Going back to that, to our joint school board meeting
Yeah.
at Rock River, I thought I liked the idea of going through all the legislation. I wasn't sure at first what we were going to be doing, but to go through all the legislation, I thought it was very beneficial. So that would be a nice thing to maybe, if we're going to do it yearly, to maybe include that in there, because normally we don't, you have to read all of them individually, and here they were all presented together. So for me, I liked it.
And I think the timing was great in reference to that as we're heading down to OSBA.
Right. But I thought Dr. Stoll made a really good point in a conversation I had with him, to where, we do something like this, and we do greatly appreciate Rocky River Schools for putting it together, their Board of Education superintendent. But Dr. Stoll made a comment when we were in a conversation afterwards, saying that maybe we can suggest that, they split us up. So you don't have this board sitting together and this board sitting together, but if you have the board president sitting at this table, the board vice president sitting at this table, and then have different board members, so then you can engage in conversations from community to community and kind of hear some of that. I thought that would be really nice to do.
Yeah, they didn't really give us.
No, there wasn't a lot of, but it was also, I think they also felt up against a Guardians playoff game.
Oh, that's right.
It was
Yes.
scheduled the
Yes.
same night as that, and they're,
We had to get home.
kind of felt in the room that, hey, you know what, we'll be very patient during the presentation, but
I know it's probably too late for this year, but maybe future years, we could even have a social hour down in Columbus, because I'm sure a number of the districts will send their board members down there, even if it was, a little reception for an hour or so.
sure.
I think of that social time ahead of time where they did set up a social room, and there was a little bit of an opportunity to chat with board members and superintendents and administration in different districts, talking about various levies or building projects they're working on. Some of them were asking us, hey, what did you do and how were those things accomplished? And those, at least making that connection. The whole legislative presentation as well brought about conversation amongst us as well as other boards too. So it was good.
Yeah, very well worth it.
Right.
And it does seem a lot of our neighbors are on the ballot,
True.
almost all of them. So best of luck to all of them as they
Right on.
turn to that.
Further board comments? Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or rules or state statutes?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
To adjourn into executive session at 6:34 PM. Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Here not,
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
We'll
Motion
adjourn to
carries.
executive session, and the board will take no action in executive session nor when the board comes out of executive session.